Hello and welcome back to Rediscovering You. This is episode 86. Today's conversation is one that I've actually really been looking forward to. My guest is Dr. Mark Sherwood. He is a physician, a best-selling author, and co-founder of the Functional Medical Institute. Alongside his wife, Dr. Michelle Sherwood, he's spent decades helping people rethink what they've been taught about health, aging, and healing. Dr. Sherwood challenges the idea that feeling exhausted, inflamed, anxious, or dependent on medications is just something we have to accept. Instead, his work is about understanding what the body is communicating and learning how to take your power back. In this episode, we are going to talk about longevity, biohacking, and what it really means to rediscover yourself through your health, not from fear or restriction, but from awareness, ownership, and choice. Dr. Mark, welcome to the show. I am really excited to talk to you today.
Well, thank you for having me, Laura. It's great to see you, and I appreciate this opportunity. I'm looking forward to it.
Wonderful. So, Dr. Mark, I want to just start with before you became known for longevity and functional medicine, who were you? Talk to me about your life before this current version of yourself, because I think that's such an interesting story as well.
Well, I've worn a lot of hats, let's just say. Some would say it's kind of a Renaissance kind of type life, but ultimately, I was a professional baseball player years ago where I played in Australia, of all places around the world. And then I came back to the country after playing there, and I joined the Tulsa Police Department where I served for 24 years. 10 years of that was on the SWAT team. And during the last several years of my time there in the police department, I was tasked with developing a wellness program. And the wellness program didn't exist at the time, so I had quite a job on my hands. And I started doing research and trying to study and learn why police officers weren't very healthy. And there was a statistic at that time that blew my mind, and it's still true to this day. This is true. People can look this up. The average life expectancy for the 20 years of service male police officer is 66 years of age.
What?
And that blew my mind. And it frankly blew my mind and broke my heart because I did see, and I have experienced it even as recently as this week, seeing people that were retired and die.
Hmm.
And it seemed like something was wrong with that. And then I began to look into why as part of my endeavor to structure a wellness program to teach them, to give them an opportunity to do better.
Mhm.
And I found out that there was medications that were typical, such as blood pressure, blood sugar, sleep medication, antidepressants, and the list goes on. And the passion grew deeper in me, Laura, to realize that it wasn't just about protecting and serving people in my department any longer, that the information that I had my hands on was affecting everybody across the country.
Mhm.
And so I kind of expanded the protection service role, just like the Forrest Gump movie, I suppose, who kept on running. I just kept on studying and I never stopped. And to this day, I'm just curious with information. Became a naturopathic doctor, and I teamed up with my wife, Dr. Michelle, who is my best friend. She's my pal. She's my buddy. And I like to call her not just my spare rib, but my prime rib. So we work together and just enjoy it so much. And together we run the Functional Medical Institute. And really the mission to protect and serve is the same, protecting people from themselves most of the time, and then serving them the best I can, the best we can together as a forming a community to empower people with, correct information, giving them the ability to make better choices.
Wow. So, in your experience, how often is chronic illness less about like what's broken and more about maybe living out of alignment with yourself or not being in touch with the signals that your body is giving you?
I'm going to go greater than 90%
Wow.
because again, when you get out of touch with really who you are, what you're supposed to do, what your purpose is, our behaviors don't line up with the idea of optimal health. And the standard American Western diet lifestyle is the result. We cannot participate in that because that is really not fulfilling proper alignment with the way our body is supposed to operate. And that style of living has created this pandemic of expected, quote unquote, normal disease processes that are ravishing our population. We right now in history are the most unhealthiest we've ever been as a nation. Right now, we spend more money per capita per family on this thing we call healthcare, but
Mhm.
yet we're near the bottom in true health. We set the bar for what not to do. And we then rephrase that, reframe that, shape that, indoctrinate us to believe that's normal. And so I think if people could realize that the culture, maybe what we've been told, what we've been taught, what's been taught through the airwaves, news waves, etc., maybe it's never been true. Maybe it's got us way off course, and maybe there's a better way. And I submit that maybe facetiously because there is a better way, and we can reverse a lot of those processes and avoid those processes altogether by just making some changes.
So I was hoping you could provide just a little bit of education based on all of your knowledge. So you shared that the diet that we as Americans are prescribed,
Yeah.
that most of us eat, is causing all of these health problems, and that there's a disparity between how we're living and those of us living in other countries. My question is twofold. One, can you talk about the signs and symptoms that are very common for us Americans that eat poorly or eat the food that we're told that we should be eating? What are the signs and symptoms, and what are some ways that you have learned that are really powerful in counteracting them?
Well, the signs and symptoms, I believe, can be categorized in the following areas: chronic systemic inflammation, you hurt, you don't feel good, probably obesity or the excessive fat tissue accumulation that happens, and probably blood sugar issues and blood pressure issues, things of that nature that are not right. And we are told today that a little bit of extra fat is just a sign of aging, a little bit of blood pressure increase is just a sign of aging, your blood sugar is not that bad, just make better choices. And these are not okay. Also go the direction of brain fog, fatigue, where we're just not able to get up and go. We have to have that sugary drink or maybe caffeine all the time to keep us going. All these symptoms very common of being involved perpetually within the standard American diet lifestyle. With that said, if we just go backwards and go, oh, food as one example of lifestyle, it's either going to be information to the body through high nutrient dense food, or it's going to be inflammation to the body through high calorie, low nutrient dense food.
Mhm.
In other words, calorie science is broken. Don't do that. We also know that eating real foods brings real life and real health. Eating fake foods hastens and speeds up the death process. So we sit a lot as well. We don't move a lot. We sit a lot. So movement is life. Lack of movement is death. So yeah, these are common sense things. And I think the last part of this is stress. No, we're not handling the concept of stress well, and we're not at peace. Peace is kind of the gasoline of longevity, if you will. It's just being at peace with yourself, maybe other people. And we need to revisit all those things because those three things are off. You are going with the standard American Western diet lifestyle, and you are going to have those symptoms. It's not about when and if, it's about when.
Yeah. Wow. And so you have founded the Functional Medicine Institute. Can you talk about what is functional medicine in comparison to traditional Western medicine as we know it?
Yeah, people need to really get a hold of what this really is. And I'll kind of break this down in a couple different areas. With conventional Western medicine, we have a bunch of symptoms that
Hmm.
are real, not negating those, not ignoring those, but those symptoms are real. That's what you go to the doctor for. And the doctor asks you about a symptomatology or symptom check. Nurse usually does that. The doctor confirms it. There's an algorithm that's followed, and you're given a medication. Conventional doctors are trained in how to prescribe medications to manage symptoms and or disease processes. Doesn't mean correction. It means managing, and they're very good at that. Managing does not mean healing. It means managing. So that's conventional medicine. And we're not knocking it because we believe that medication has its proper usage. We just believe there's an unnecessary dependence upon it. So what is functional medicine? It doesn't ignore symptoms. It doesn't ignore the basic fundamentals of how to prescribe, but it looks at the symptoms and it says, what is causing the symptoms? So it goes upstream rather than downstream while being aware of downstream. What are the symptoms caused by? They're caused by something above that in a system becoming dysfunctional. But what caused the system to become dysfunctional? So you go further upstream. You go up as far as you can in the upstream process. Genetics, lifestyle, emotional health, family health, relational health, financial health, our lifestyle behaviors, food, rest, stress management, movement, all those things matter. And you determine what is wrong, functionally correct it so the symptoms go away. If the symptoms go away, they become irrelevant. And further down the line, medication becomes irrelevant. And today, we kind of take that process. My wife and I go one step further. We go into the areas of even biohacking, genetics, common sense, and try to put all that together on not just this standard approach, but an approach that leads to personalization of the plan for the person. And I think that's what makes it different, and that's what makes it effective in this long-term process.
I appreciate that it's personalized to each individual because I agree with you that that is so important to
Yeah.
look at the whole person, and we all are so unique. You used the word biohacking. I'd
Yeah.
love for you to just explain what that is and how you are able to use it in your work.
A lot of people refer to us as the original biohackers. We even identified and made up the term biohackologist or biohackology. Those are trademarked, by the way. Ultimately, biohacking is taking everything you know about anatomy, biology, physiology, common sense, nutrition, stress management, exercise, anything that we talk about, rest and sleep, supplementation, hormones, peptides, and it puts them into a big old box. And it determines what is the best plan for you to quote unquote hack the system. In other words, maybe back in the video game days, it would be like determining the cheat code to make the score of the game get to the top where there was no more levels. You
Hmm.
just got to the top. This is the highest level you could be. I don't believe with the human experience that we reach the top level any day. I think there's levels that we try to get at, but ultimately, I want people to have the highest quality of life on an absolute every single day basis. And I think that's possible. And again, quality of life is sort of this relevant thing that people try to find themselves. But for us, it's really being able to do what you want, when you want, how you want, with whom, and not hurt. And I think
Yeah.
if that really happens, you've had a good life.
That's wonderful. And another piece of your work is rooted so heavily in longevity and talking about longevity. So when we talk about that, are you simply talking about living a longer life, or are you talking about something else as well?
Good question. I'm certainly not talking about living a longer life because that doesn't guarantee we're living a better life. In fact, I would say this with all confidence and boldness that we might be even living a little bit longer today in our world, maybe a couple years, but we're actually being sicker and dying longer. In other
Mm.
words, we're seeing an increase in the sick and death span and a decrease in the health span. And that's not okay. We're seeing multiple people that are on multiple medications. It's not unusual for people that are 40, 50, 60 years of age and up to be on two or more medications every single day. We're seeing the concept of type 2 diabetes insulin resistance being at 1 and 2 right now. We're seeing obesity reaching 50% across our country, predicted to be 100% by 2050. These trends are shocking, and we are not living better. We're
Mm.
living worse. So our endeavor and purpose is to increase the health span, decrease the sick span. And in that process, we might live longer, we might
Mhm.
not, but I guarantee you this, we will live better. Therefore, we want to put more life in the years, not just and only years in the life.
I love that saying. I really do. And looking at increasing your health span, not your lifespan, because living
Mhm.
longer doesn't necessarily mean you're going to have a wonderful quality of life, right? And I mean, I think a lot of us would argue that if our quality of life is poor, then we don't want to live forever and ever if we're suffering or in pain or are not able to do the things that we love. So I really think that that's a wonderful reframe to look at talking about longevity.
Yeah, indeed. I think that the quality of life that we have, it doesn't need to be lying in a bed, have somebody take care of us and bring us food, take us to the toilet and all that.
Hmm.
That's not okay. And that just breaks my heart. I mean, that just breaks my heart that we have to even have the expectation that that occurs. We do, culturally speaking, Laura, we tend to have the expectation, well, I'm just getting older. Stop it. Stop that saying. This is just what happened when you get old. I guess I can't travel anymore. I guess I can. I guess I can't.
Hmm.
Well, those words become prophetic in
Right.
nature and they create and reframe exactly who you are, not just in the head and not just in the heart, but at the very cellular level.
I believe that to my core so much that the words you speak, the beliefs that you have manifest in your body at that cellular level. And it's true and it's profound. And so
Yes.
I think that is really important to talk about. Another part that I was hoping you could speak about is that a lot of times when people are sick or when they have health issues, they feel this sense of a lack of control over their lives and like they're just giving their fate to the doctors that are telling them what they need to do or what medicines they need to do. And that can be really damaging to a person's sense of power and agency. And I think your approach offers a different kind of way to look at struggles that we have that might be more empowering to different individuals. Can you speak about that a bit?
Yeah, culture today teaches us to give away our, power all the time in various areas.
Hmm.
Spiritual power, we give it away to the pastor. The emotional power, we give it away to the counselor who's got to tell us what to do.
Hmm.
The physical power, we give it away, to the trainer or to the doctor, and the
Yeah,
intellectual power, we got to give that away to our professors at college. In all reality, to be empowered is to be alive.
right.
Each of us are completely different or completely uniquely different. We might be 99.99% similar genetically, but that 0.01% offers a vast array of differences. We're all different in the way we respond to our environment. There will never be another Laura. There will never be another Mark. There'll never be another Michelle. And because of that, we hold the ultimate empowerment within us. And that's really important because when you go to a doctor and you're sick or feeling symptoms, for example, your job is not just to follow what they say. Your job is to learn if what they're saying is true, to ask questions, to discover, and it should be a partnership. It should be a joint mutual decision that you're having about what you're going to do. And ultimately, no matter what happens, if you have control over what you say, as we just spoke a moment ago, you still have to maintain control of that thing called the tongue, because you can
Mhm.
begin to say things like, I can never get well.
Right.
You can never eat right. I'm never going to feel better. I never sleep well. And those words, just like Henry Ford said, if you say you can't or you can, you're right. And it's so true. And so we just need to take that thing back. And if nothing else that people get from the time we have together in our podcast today, that right there is the most important. That you don't need to ever delegate that away because you don't need to. That's not even the purpose. We have all kinds of resources, friends, family, doctors, teachers, pastors, etc. But we still have a brain, we still have a heart, we still have a conscience, we have still a spirit that's ours. And we need to
Mhm.
get a hold of that thing and really be in touch with that thing and listen to that little voice inside of you telling you what's good or bad, left or right, up or down, go this way, go that way, don't do this, don't do that. For me, myself, it is really listening to God speak to me. Now, I
Mhm.
realize that some people might not see that, and I understand that. It's okay. And by the way, I don't practice religion. I don't like that either. But ultimately, the idea is really understanding the essence of who we are as humans. And it's an experience that's very personal and
Right.
it's unique to us. And we need to get that thing back and get our head set and heart set in the right spot to take back ownership once again.
Yeah, absolutely. Can you talk about, because I imagine you help people from all walks of life, and so this question might be a little bit difficult, but is there like a typical type of person or situation that somebody is in that they're inspired to reach out to you or to pursue functional medicine?
I think so. I think we probably have two groups of people
Okay.
that really reach out to us. We have a small group of maybe high level athletes, whether college or professional in different
Mhm.
sports, whether it be PGA, MLB, NBA, and NFL that reach out to us and want to sort of optimize their performance. And I get that. That's awesome. I'm grateful
Yeah.
for that. It's a different group though. But most people who reach out to us are probably between, I don't know, 35 and maybe 65-ish. And it's a group of people that are really realizing that life is not going to last forever, at least physically.
Hmm.
And they really want to optimize their health. They realize that things are changing hormonally, situationally, relationally, and even with the world today. They're realizing they want answers to really maximize what it looks like to be empty nesters,
Hmm.
to be grandparents. What does that look like to be retired? How can I live my best life? The rest of the days of my life. And that group of people that they really have a motivation to want to learn and experience and get a real, again, I said this 3 times, but it's really important to get a personalized approach to what they're
Yeah.
doing because there's standard principles that probably would bring agreement across most platforms. But ultimately, there's that uniqueness about the person that comes out that you have to meet and you have to meet them right there. We do. And we work
Mhm.
very hard at that to establish that working relationship.
Yeah, that's really important that you do. You meet them exactly where they are. and
Mhm.
it does need to be personalized. And so what is working with you or with your agency? What does that look like?
Yeah, we really have people all over the country and world. I mean,
Okay.
we multi-state licensures, of course, but people reach out to us and want all kinds of help, and you don't really have to. The beauty of, today we're on Zoom. That's great, man. The beauty of these electronic communication abilities we have now are profound and astounding. And you can bring somebody right into your living room, and they might be hundreds of miles away. So wherever you are on planet Earth, and you want help and you feel like that we would be a place where you would seek that help and you want to establish that kind of relationship, we're here. And so it's not that hard to do that. People, they always ask, how do you get connected with you guys? Well, we do have a free webinar once every month on the second Tuesday, 6:30 p.m. Central, and it's free. And we present on something, and my wife and I do, and people can ask us questions. And again, it's free. And if people want to schedule appointments with us, they can. We have a lot of people that just reach out to us on our websites and want to get a hold of free stuff, and I'm okay with that too. There's free ebooks, there's
Yeah.
books, there's movies, there's newsletters, there's blogs and things like they're really awesome, and people can do that. But whatever happens, we want to bring about encouragement and education and inspiration to the world.
That's beautiful. And that's so generous and generous in spirit to be able to give freely,
Yeah,
with your webinars and with the books that you do. I mean, it just shows that you truly do believe in helping others and helping others live better lives and getting the word out in as many different venues as you possibly can. And so I love that you're doing that and you're putting that out there.
appreciate it.
Of course. So a lot of the people that might listen to this podcast or that I work with are feeling, um, let's say, stuck in different aspects of their lives, whether it's their career, their relationship, their own personal development. But a lot of the times, what isn't a part of the discussion is their body. And that's
Mhm.
why I love that we're having this conversation because I know that the body is often a mirror or a reflection of what's happening in other realms of our lives. And so I love that we are really zoning in on the importance of tuning into our body and taking care of our bodies. Can you give any scenarios or what's your experience in helping somebody get their body into more of their own peak performance, whatever it is for that person? And what are some other ripple effects that might have happened in other areas of their lives?
Well, I like to start with maybe defining maybe areas of life that we all probably have in common: physical, emotional, intellectual, spiritual, probably financial.
Hmm?
All those things are important. But if we're not taking care of our physical health, it will always affect the financial, it will always affect the emotional, and it will affect the spiritual. And sometimes it can spin out of control. You're like, what's the use? I don't feel good anyway. Continue to make the decisions you make, which makes it worse. On the flip side, not if, but when you take control of that physical health, watch what happens. You become excess fat gain resistant. You become symptom free, where medication, sickness, and you're not even thinking about that. You're thinking about the next time you can be a great wife, a great husband, a great mom, a great friend, a great worker. You're thinking about the next task ahead, the next dream ahead. And that becomes something that you achieve physically, yes, but it affects you with emotionally. It gives you hope
Right.
rather than depression. You feel better because your brain is clearer. You don't have brain fog. You got a quick brain. You
Yeah.
got a fast brain. You can call things back from the past or from the near present immediately. And from an intellectual standpoint, you know why you got there and you know how you got there. So the intellect goes right down into your heart, that becomes part of who you are spiritually. Then eventually you realize, I don't need to spend my money on sickness. I need to use my resources for wellness so that
Right.
I can experience this that I just described to you every day in my life. And that's a person that takes charge of this and really does it. And I see that happen all the time because, ultimately, I think we all understand this. When you don't feel good, life gets a little more cloudy.
Yeah.
Life gets a little more gray. You just don't feel good, and it does affect everything you do, even relationally. I was talking about this just this week with a lady and a man. The lady had put on a bunch of weight, and she was in the perimenopausal window, and their relationship was struggling with intimacy and desire and even want to and all that. We walked through that, and it came down to the point where she said, I just feel gross. She said that. And I heard her acknowledge that, didn't dismiss it. Like, oh, you're not gross. I didn't do that. I just acknowledged it. And I asked the husband to acknowledge that, and he did. And of course, it was a wonderful thing because it wasn't about a lack of love.
Right.
It wasn't that he didn't love her and she didn't love him. It wasn't that at all. It was maybe a lack of self-love, understanding who you are. And it's like this, when you're living life, you're giving, 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 doing,
Mhm.
doing, doing, being, being, being. And it's like this well full of water. And that water represents what you're giving to other people, what you're pouring out all the time.
Right.
But if you don't take the time to dig that well deeper and do the things that maybe you don't want to do, maybe they're hard, but maybe you need to do, dig the well deeper so that you can give more. And in the meantime, that brings about that dynamic of how you can learn to love yourself and then love other people. And it's a beautiful thing when it comes together.
It is. And I agree with you that you do need to love yourself. And I think a lot of people think they can skip that step and go straight to the other
Mm.
stuff. But you do need to love yourself. And a huge part of loving yourself is taking care of this one body that we have.
Yes.
Truly. And it doesn't take a whole lot of time, just in my own experience of making healthier choices and different things in order for you to experience these positive changes that you're talking about intellectually, relationship wise, even financially. Yeah, yeah. I mean, I think something that I come across is like people that are really in the depths of depression or feeling like, okay, what we're talking about, Dr. Mark, that's all great, but this is for people that are healthier than me. This is for people that don't weigh as much as I do. This is for people that have more time than I do. Is that like, is this for a select few, or are these practices and principles, can they be applied to anybody no matter their current state of health?
Yes, it can. Because ultimately, it just requires a will.
Yeah,
And I think everybody knows down deep, and everybody wants down deep to be healthy. I think we want that. But sometimes the distance between where you are and health seems so far. It seems so
right,
distant. It seems like there's no way I'm going to get there. Truly, fair to acknowledge is some people just give up hope.
right.
And in my own life, man, come on. I mean, every one of us is in the human experience have experienced times, whether it be multiple or a few or seasonal, where you just like, I'm down right now and I don't feel like getting up again.
Mm.
But as long as you get up one more time, that's the key. Wherever you are in the spectrum and scope of what you just described, you can always get up one more time.
Right.
And I tell people, I'm not asking you to be like anybody else. That's not the point. All I'm asking you is to take one more step in the right direction. And when you're there, let's talk about that and let's take another step in the right direction and keep it going in the forward future like that. Because a baby doesn't learn to run until they've walked and crawled and fell down several times. So it's just part of life, man. The journey of learning to ride the lifestyle bike, I suppose, or walk the lifestyle trek again. There's a lot of learning that has to happen. And some people feel like they're a lost cause, but no one is. Not really. You just got to get that little fire again in your heart. And, my hope's always been on any of these broadcasts or podcasts I've been on, even in every part of my life, I suppose, this stage of my life, is that maybe one person, maybe one out there is stirred up in the heart that says, this helped me. And if that happened, then great, man. It's been a good day.
Couldn't agree more. Couldn't agree more. Yeah, it's all in the spirit of helping even that just that one. If one
Yep.
person is touched by this or inspired by this or learn something that's going to move them in a more positive direction, yay. It was
Indeed.
just a great day.
Yeah, indeed.
Yeah, yeah. And it must be so wonderful to do this work alongside your wife. What's
Yeah.
that like? What a wonderful gift that is to be able to both be so passionate about this work and to be helping so many people together. That's got to be just an incredible ride to be on.
It's kind of overwhelming. You don't think about it until you think about it. And when you think about it, you're like, oh my, what? Wow. And then, sometimes, I mean, we're human beings and we don't wake up and try to struggle with anything. That's not our point, but
Mhm.
we go through stuff ourselves. But there's no better situation than I could ever want or dream of than getting to do this with my wife.
Mhm.
And when we met, I mean, it was truly a divine connection, love at first sight moment where I remember first time I met, I shook her hand and I couldn't let go. It was weird. And there were people around like, this is awkward. And thankfully, I had the courage to ask her out on a date. And she said yes. We haven't been apart a day since. And I think people appreciate that we get to work with because they see a couple that loves each other
Yeah.
and loves working together and can do that because I hear all the time I could never do that. And I think, well, I could not never do that. It just seems odd to me, you know?
Yeah. Well, that's wonderful. That's like a home run right there. Just being able to like find your partner and have the same
Yeah.
passions and have personalities that you can work with each other and not get annoyed with each other and just like encourage one another. So that's so cool. I love that. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Can we talk just a little bit about like what are some of the first steps for people that you work with? Like what are some like do you do an assessment for somebody's overall health? Or are there like generally certain first steps that you like people to start with? And maybe just so listeners can have an idea of like, huh, I'm curious, like how can they take a couple of first brave steps forward?
Well, if I'm testing someone
Hmm.
from a testing standpoint, I want to look upstream, downstream, as I kind of described earlier. So I want to know their genetics. So we've got our own genetic panel, the different areas of genetics that we want to look at. And then we'll also look at downstream. We'll do a big old comprehensive blood lab. That's typically
Hmm.
what we do. We look at like maybe like a puzzle, 500-piece jigsaw puzzle. How do you put that together? You
Hmm.
go around the edges and borders first. Don't
Hmm.
start with the inside. So we kind of do it like that. But when you look at every person, I think that there's always some tools where we can start. The number one tool I think that people can take, and it is cost you nothing, but it's making the decision that you're going to eat better foods, eat real foods, eat whole foods, realizing that some foods will bring harm and some foods will bring health. Again, inflammation, some foods, inflammation. So we got to make that decision, realizing that that doesn't cost us more, it costs us less because studies have shown that when you eat high nutrient dense foods over time, you're more full quicker and stay full longer. Therefore, you eat less food. So really, it sort of takes us out of food prison, food bondage, food noise, and puts us into food freedom, right? That would be number one. I think number two is every day, and you start with one meal a day on that one, and just one. And
Hmm.
then the next thing you start with, putting on your tennis shoes and maybe walking to your mailbox and back
Yeah.
every
Yeah.
day more
Move.
than once.
Hmm.
Maybe walk 10 times back to your mailbox before you pick up the mail. And one day is one more day you can move. So increase that movement at least once a day.
Hmm.
And then the other one I think is for me is from an emotional standpoint or maybe a heart standpoint. I tell people of the 1,440 minutes you get every day, start with 1 minute to just be quiet. Just shh, quiet. No dogs, no noise, no kids, no husband, no wife, no TV, and no iPhone. Turn it off and just watch the second hand go around your clock on your watch or whatever. And you're going to find peace in that. Might
Yes.
be uncomfortable for about 10, 15 minutes, or 10, 15 seconds, but then the last, 30 seconds, you're going to go, wow. When it ends, you're going to go, I want more. But it's one meal, one movement, and 1 minute. And I think if we do those things to start with, every single person listening right now can benefit. And if people want to take it farther than that, on our website, we've got a free ebook called Hope, Health, and Freedom. People can download that, and all these principles and more are there. And even on there is a kind of a general list of kind of food selections.
That's super helpful and it's very tangible. Like what you just
Yeah.
described, anybody can do one movement in 1 minute. And I think it's really important what you shared about how eating healthier whole foods is going to cost you less because I'm sure you
Yes.
hear all the time, I can't afford to eat whole foods. I can only afford the processed stuff and the fast food because it's less expensive. But when you look at it from how you just shared, you're going to get full quicker when you eat those whole foods. And so you won't want it more. So you can afford to eat that. Yeah, I think that's really important. So
It's
one
a
meal, one movement, 1 minute. Anybody
that's
can do it.
it.
That's awesome. That is awesome. Okay. And you said that you have a free ebook on your website, Hope, Health, and Freedom?
Yes, correct.
Okay.
Super easy to find. People can scroll down my website. It's DrMarksherwood. Real simple.
Okay.
.com. And my wife is the same as mine, Dr. Michelle Sherwood.com. If people want to get her story, it's a cool story. It's on my wife's name, it's Michelle with one L. I want to
Oh,
clarify that. And the good way to remember that, people get a kick out of this. There's no hell in my Michelle.
she's the prime rib and there's no Helen. Oh my gosh. Okay. So as we are rounding out this episode, I just want to close with asking you Since the name of the podcast is Rediscovering You, when you think of rediscovering yourself in the context of the work that you do, what does that mean to you? And what does that mean for the people you work with?
For myself and really everybody we deal with, it's reaffirming who you really are. I
Mm.
don't think anyone's born a loser. We're all born choosers, I suppose. And health is not destined in your genes. It's rooted in your choices.
Mm-hmm.
And I think rediscovering who you are really reignites the power that you have inside you of taking control of your destiny and don't put it in somebody else's hands. Because when you lose who you are, and there's some things that cause that, and it's an acronym, and we wrote it in a book one time, Fork Your Diet, but the acronym is this: it's frauds. Fear, resentment, anger, unforgiveness, disappointment, and shame. And you can get those things in your life so deeply, it defrauds you of your true identity.
Mm.
So people I say to, don't walk in fear, forgive other people, don't hold resentment, all those things. And you finally find out who you are. And that brings about freedom. It brings about clarity. It brings about purpose. And then you can take that freedom, clarity, and purpose and you can move forward again back to our ones, one
Mm.
step at a time.
Beautiful. Dr. Mark Sherwood, it has been such an enlightening conversation with you today. I want to thank you for your time and for your expertise and for your compassion in speaking about the work that you do. Thank you so much.
My pleasure, Laura. Thanks for having me.